Ruth Bader Gensburg was the second female justice appointed to the Supreme Court by former President Bill Clinton in 1993. Despite the traditional roles set for women, Ruth Bader Ginsburg broke ground for women in law and politics when she became a member of the Supreme Court and contributed to major court cases that helped advance civil rights for all Americans. Ruth Bader was the daughter of Nathan and Celia Bader, two Jewish Russian immigrants that settled in Brooklyn, New York in the early 1900s. Despite being a girl and Jewish, she always aimed to be more than the typical housewife from a young age. Her parents, particularly her mother, greatly encouraged this. Her mother struggled with cancer throughout Ginsburg's high school years and died the day before her high school graduation. She always encouraged Ginsburg to reach her full potential and focus greatly on her studies. Because Ginsburg had to take care of her mother during her struggle with cancer, she learned how to not only take care of herself, but how to take care of others from an early age. Her mother was a hard worker and struggled to fight cancer. Ruth was greatly influenced by her in becoming the strong, influential woman she is today. Ginsburg's hard work in the classroom paid off. She graduated first in her class from James Madison High School and then attended Cornell University, where she was a baton twirler in the marching band. From Cornell, she also graduated first in her class and received a bachelor's degree in government. While at Cornell, she also met her future husband, Martin Ginsburg.
Ruth attended Harvard Law School. While there, she struggled with the lack of females in her class. Out of 500 people in her class, there were only 8 females. She persevered and became the first female member of the prestigious Harvard Law Review. While Miss Ginsburg was becoming one of the best in her class at Harvard, her husband became very sick with testicular cancer. Justice Ginsburg kept up her law work as well as Martin's. She would attend his classes and write his homework from his words. Even though Martin was fighting his cancer, he still graduated from Harvard and decided to move to New York. This caused Miss Ginsburg to transfer to Columbia. In the face of moving and helping her husband deal with his cancer and get his degree, Miss Ginsburg still found a way to graduate first in her class at Columbia. After graduating from Columbia, Ruth Bader Ginsburg found it hard to get a job because she was a female. Graduating first in her class meant nothing to the business owners who were looking for male applicants. This, however, did not make Ruth Bader Ginsburg get down on herself. She found a job to be the clerk for the U.S. District Judge. She worked here for only 3 years, but in that time she hid her pregnancy by wearing large clothing to prevent her from being fired. Her son, James Ginsburg, was her second child after her daughter Jane Ginsburg. After working as a clergy, she then taught at Rutgers University for 9 years. Ginsburg moved again to teach at Columbia during the 70s, where she became the first female tenured professor. While working here, she was counsel to the American Civil Liberties Union. During this time, she was a big advocate for women's rights and gender.
Ginsburg was appointed to be a judge in the U.S. Court of Appeals in the District of Columbia on June 18, 1980. She was appointed by President Jimmy Carter to fill the spot of Harold Leventhal. She was then appointed to the Supreme Court by President Bill Clinton in 1993. The Senate confirmed her by a vote of 96-3. She was questioned by the senators about her beliefs, and she refused to answer most questions and would not talk about how she would act in a hypothetical situation as a justice. She took her seat on August 10, 1993. Ginsburg has been considered more on the moderate or liberal side when it comes to her views on issues presented to the court. She has been an advocate for equal rights, but not putting women's rights above men's. In 1996, Ginsburg wrote the majority opinion on the United States versus Virginia case. The Virginia Military Institute had traditionally been an all-male military school to train men to be citizen soldiers. Virginia argued that allowing women into the Virginia Military Institute would lower the quality of the education the institute provided. Virginia opened the Virginia Women's Institute for Leadership for a female-only option. Some argue that the Virginia Women's Institute for Leadership had much less military training than the Virginia Military Institute. In 1999, Ginsburg won the American Bar Association Thurgood Marshall Award for her work in gender equality. Ginsburg's husband died on June 27, 2010 of cancer. She still went to court the next day for the last day of the 2010 term. They were married for 56 years. In 2014, Ginsburg did not join the majority opinion on the Burwell versus Hobby Lobby Store Incorporated case. The argument was over whether or not Hobby Lobby should be required to cover contraceptives in their health insurance because of the owner's religious views. The court ruled 5-4 to allow Hobby Lobby to restrict their employees. Ginsburg claimed that the court left no pathway for lower courts to follow with this ruling and raised the question about whether or not the line could be drawn with the issue because their religious views can apply to things such as blood transfusions and vaccines. On June 25, 2015, Ginsburg sided with the majority for the landmark case King v. Burwell. This decision allowed for the federal government to keep providing subsidies for Americans who buy their insurance through exchanges for both state and federal operated companies. On June 26, 2015, another landmark case was made in the Oberfell v. Hodge case. Ginsburg sided with the majority to make gay marriage legal in all 50 states. Ginsburg was also the first Supreme Court justice to perform a same-sex marriage that took place at the Supreme Court on October 31, 2013. Ginsburg has many fans. There's even a Tumblr blog called Notorious RBG dedicated to her. Many people have made t-shirts, mugs, and more, all decked out in Ginsburg memes, quotes, and pictures. Ruth Bader Gensburg has stood for equal rights throughout her whole life. She's faced discrimination and pushed her way all the way up to becoming a Supreme Court justice. She's influenced and helped form the America we know today.